All right, peace and wellness family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. If you was in the new moon video yesterday, I told y'all we was going to have a quick family meeting because I wanted to touch on a couple of things before the peak of the new moon. Y'all, I done lost track. I didn't even realize today was Friday, child. I was like, we could do it tomorrow, but tomorrow is going to be our book club meeting. And Sunday will be our Sunday film watch party. So, and Sunday is also the peak of the new moon. So, I wanted to get this information to y'all before the peak of the new moon because I just think it's important to already be in preparation, right? I'm very big on during the shadow period. I already like to have my candles going, honey. Okay, I already like to have my things stinging. Okay, during the shadow period, honey. Okay, when I say I start early. Okay, I starts early. My candle been lit since yesterday, so that way, I like to do it at the start of the shadow period because usually by the day of the new moon, that candle has finished, and then on new moon day, I start a new one, and then by the end of the shadow period, that one is finished, right? So usually within that 7 day shadow period, I have done two candle workings. The first one is usually centered in setting my intentions and manifestation. And then the second candle working is usually centered in gratitude. It's usually a gratitude candle, right? And giving thanks for what is and what is aligned with me. So that's how I usually like to do it. Now, the thing is, with this new moon, this is a special one. All new moons are great and amazing, but this specific new moon is a bit special because it is the last new moon of the astrological new year. This is also a super moon, which means that the moon is in closer proximity to the earth, and it just intensifies the energy. And also, this new moon is the day before Ramadan, right? And it really just ushers us into a beautiful season of elevation, intuition, enhanced spirituality, connecting with our higher self, sacrifice, fasting, and all that beautiful stuff, right? Just the higher connection to the divine. So I want to start it off. First off, I already shared a little agenda in the Patreon when I posted about this, right? And in the agenda, I talked about how essentially the intention for this meeting is really quickly, I want to go over some quick points about Ramadan and fasting as a whole. And then I want to touch on a little bit about candle work. And then I want to talk about some manifestation keys. And then I'll open the floor up to a Q&A. So when it comes to Ramadan, right? Ramadan is the Islamic month of fasting. It goes according to the Islamic calendar. Just a few quick facts, right? Ramadan is a time where not only do you fast from food and water from sun up to sundown, but you are essentially fasting from food, water, sexual activity, obscene language, negative energy, negative self-talk. It's about being just really putting yourself in a position to be highly connected to your highest self and to the divine energy. So, traditional Ramadan is done and at a time of extreme discipline. You really have to tap into discipline. You really have to tap into spirit. You really have to tap into your prayer life. Ideally, you are supposed to be in constant prayer and communication with God throughout the day. And not saying that you're not supposed to be functioning, of course, but this is the time where like your connection to God is supposed to be elevated. You're in constant gratitude and constant kindness. You enhance your charity. You do all of that. That's traditional Ramadan. Now, fasting from food and water is from sunup to sundown. It depends on your location. So, like in New York recently, the sun has been rising around like 6 a.m., between 6 and 6:30 a.m. So, how it traditionally works is you'll wake up before dawn, before sunrise, to have a morning meal called suhoor, right? So with suhoor, that you are supposed to eat and drink and nourish yourself, okay? So you're not waking up and just going straight into fasting. And it's very important to be disciplined in this way because you don't want to essentially pass the fuck out, y'all. Okay, you don't want to pass the fuck out. you are fasting from food and water for sun up to sundown. So it's anywhere between 12 to 14 hours. You're going with no food, no water, and you're still living your traditional life. So having that pre-dawn meal, having that suhoor, waking up, you do your prayer. So if the sun rises around like 6, 6:15, you will probably wake up around like 5 a.m., 4:30 to 5 a.m. You wake up, you do your prayer, and you are supposed to eat and drink, right? And you have to do this. I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to be successful in your fasting, you have to have the discipline to get up and eat something and make sure you are fully hydrated as you go into fasting. And then you fast throughout the day. So as you fast throughout the day, again, you are consistently in prayer. In traditional Islam, you pray about 5 times a day. However, it's supposed to increase during Ramadan, right? So you are in prayer and increase as desired, increase as needed. So you are in prayer throughout the day. Okay. Now, again, a lot of charity, you're supposed to help people out. You're supposed to speak kindly to people, speak in love. You're not cursing. You're not having sex. That's traditional Ramadan. Then, when at sunset, you break fast, right? So, breaking fast, you break fast with iftar. Now, with iftar, you normally traditionally break fast with dates. Okay. So, you'll have a couple of dates before you actually eat a full meal. That iftar meal is usually huge. Like it's usually like a feast. But the thing is, this is the irony, right? So it's usually like a feast, a small feast, but you're not supposed to be gluttonous. Okay, so it's not like, okay, so when the sun sets, you are supposed to devour the whole kitchen. It's just that the family is supposed to come together and everybody kind of like, break fast together. Of course, say prayer, break fast together, and then feast on like a beautiful meal. So that's how it's supposed to go, and then you can eat as much as you want throughout the night. Even if you wanted to eat, like, say the sun sets around 7 ish, has been setting over here 7, like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Say the sun sets around 7, so that means you will have fasted from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that's 13 hours of fasting. If you wanted to eat from 7 p.m. until 6 a.m. the next day, you can do that. But ideally, you're not supposed to be gluttonous. Okay. So just keep that in mind. That's traditional Ramadan. Okay. Now, as I talked about in the new moon video, you don't have to if you don't subscribe to the religion of Islam, you don't have to necessarily follow the traditional rules of Ramadan, right? You can fast if you feel called to, if you feel led to. You can fast and refrain and restrict from anything that you desire. Okay, anything that you desire, you can fast from. So if you want to discipline yourself and fast from something other than food and or water, that's completely fine. Okay, so if you want to refrain from sex, if you want to refrain from alcohol, that's another thing. It's supposed to be no alcohol, no drinking, no smoking, no any of that. If you decide, okay, I'm still gonna eat and drink, but you know what? For these next 30 days, I'm not gonna drink any alcohol. That's gonna be what I fast from, or I'm not going to eat any sweets. That's going to be what I fast from. Or I'm going to stop cursing, or I'm going to stop I'm going to get off social media. Whatever it is that you decide to do over these next 30 days is completely up to you. But during times of fasting, whether if it's Ramadan or Lent, I think it's just beautiful to be with the collective, right? It's a collective energy. It's a collective vibe. So it's almost like having like a workout buddy, right? Like for me, I like to, like, on TikTok and stuff like that. I follow Muslims and stuff like that. So I like to see, I'm making sure I'm searching. I got my Ramadan hashtag already searched up so that it's getting in my algorithm. Remember, you control your algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. So I'm searching Ramadan. I'm typing in Ramadan Mubarak. So traditional greetings are Ramadan Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem, which are traditional Ramadan greetings during this time. So I'm searching those things on TikTok so that energy can already get into my algorithm, right? Because I like to be in alignment with the collective, with the people who are on the journey of fasting and doing what needs to be done to essentially elevate the spirit, elevate, elevate us and connect us to our higher self and to the divine energy, the divine source. Okay. So I really wanted to share that, share like what traditional Ramadan is like. And of course the final day is Eid. And at the end, that's the breaking of the fast with the collective as a whole. And on that final day is you usually, of course, you would go to the mosque. It's like everybody comes together and break fast together. There's prayer. It's basically like a whole party holiday celebration. Think about like I can't even like it's like Thanksgiving, I guess you could compare it to, but for Muslims. So anybody who's interested, if you have a temple, I'm pretty sure everybody probably has a Muslim temple in your area, in your city. You can visit, ask questions. It's like a welcome, a come one, come all. If definitely a time to learn, a time to teach and be taught. So that's just the energy right now, right? And again, you can do this with Lent. Lent, I think, is already going on. So you can do this with Lent and you can do this with Ramadan. It's completely up to you and what you decide. So I wanted to share that with y'all and just put it on the table as an option. Again, the first day is on the 11th. So really the first day is supposed to be at the sighting of the new moon, depending on where you are. So it ranges from the 10th to the 12th, depending on where everybody is located. But most people this year are honoring it on the 11th as a collective. Okay, so starting on the evening of the 11th is like the celebration. And then rising on the 12th and starting to fast. Okay, that's how most people are doing it. But again, anywhere the new moon shadow period between the 10th, 11th, 12th, it's up to you when you want to get started. Okay. I'll be starting on the 11th. I already know what I'm fasting from and what I'm fasting for. You definitely want to set your intention for your fast. But usually, traditionally, people just see it as a time of purification, cleansing yourself of your sins, of any negative energy, any negative self-talk, anything that's working against you, removing any evil, anything that is not for your wellness, removing it, right? It's supposed to be a time of cleansing and detoxing. Let me just give y'all this caveat. Let me tell y'all something, baby. Don't think that you're about to lose weight during Ramadan. Okay, let me dispel that myth. You will likely not lose weight during Ramadan because your body naturally resets itself. So for those 12 hours, 12 to 13 hours where you're not eating and drinking, your digestive system essentially goes dormant during that time. And then when you start eating and drinking, your digestive system wakes up. Some people even gain weight during Ramadan because of that, because they usually at night are eating big meals and then they go to sleep. Okay, so you have to be mindful of that. I don't want y'all to go into this like, oh, I'm gonna fast, no food, no water, with the intention of losing weight. That's one of the most common intentions that people go into Ramadan with, people who do not know, and they're usually disappointed, right? Because sometimes the scale is not moving, sometimes the scale is actually increasing, especially if they're eating these big, large, somewhat gluttonous meals at night and then laying down and going to sleep and then waking up in the morning and eating another big, large, heavy, heavy meal. It's where it's not they're not losing weight. Okay. So don't go into it with the intention of losing weight. Please, please, please. I heavily advise against it. Again, the intention is spiritual. It's supposed to be spiritual, mental, not necessarily physical things. Okay. Now, of course, when you elevate your higher self, you connect with your higher self, you will attract abundance, you'll attract prosperity, you'll attract all of that. Okay. So the abundance is going to come naturally. The abundance is a bonus, right? When you're abundant internally and you're well internally, the physical abundance of the earth is a bonus that just naturally comes, right? We manifest that from within. The internal manifests as the external. So when you are internally well in abundance, you will be externally well in abundance. So all of that just kind of, comes naturally. Okay. So just be mindful of that. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on is candles, right? I often get people asking, right? Somebody sent me an email last week about the candle readings, and I realized I haven't touched on this in a while, but I've told y'all multiple times in the past, Candle reading is a great thing. When I say candle reading, I'm not talking about flame readings. I'm talking about candle readings, where essentially when you do your candle magic and you are trying to read the candle to see whether or not your intention, your offerings, and all of that was received. This is the thing. And I'm going to break it down very quickly for anybody who is new, who just may not be aware. Yes, it is true that sometimes you can read a candle and you can see if there is negative energy in your home. You can see if your offering was received. You can see if the intention is aligned with you and all of that. However, there are so many external factors that affect how a candle burns that I just do not advise, depending on how your candle looks, to determine energy around you or whether an offering was received. Let me give you some examples. Right now, or let me say before, it's warming up a little bit here in New York, but before it was cold outside, right? One of the places I like to burn my candles is close to the window. It's in my living room. So it's like, the window is on one side, and then, of course, the rest of my house is on the other side. My candles would always burn in the slope. Why? Because even though the window is closed, by the window it's just colder than the rest of the house. So the side where the side of the candle that's closest to the window would not burn as fast as the side by the house. So my candle would always burn in a slope. If I followed candle reading, I would think that maybe some of my offerings wasn't received, right? Because all of the wax didn't burn. But that's not true. It's just that the candle is by the window and it's cold outside. The window is cold, right? So little things like that. If you have a fan going, it's going to affect how your candle burns. If the temperature of your home changes, so say for example, if you're a person that, oh, you like to turn the heat on during the day, or you like to turn the heat on at night and turn it off during the day, so the temperature in your home changes, that's going to affect how your candle burns. If you blow your candle out at any point versus letting it burn straight down, that's going to affect how your candle burns, because your candle has now hardened, and then you're relighting it and then it has to melt out again. It's going to affect how your candle burns. The type of candle you have will affect how your candle burns. The black soot, right? When it comes to the black soot, if you have a candle that has perfumes in it, if you have a candle that's not made with good wax, if you have a candle with a lined jar, you might have black soot. The perfumes lead to black soot. Certain waxes leave black soot. If you blow your candles out instead of smudging them out, it leaves black soot. So just because you see black soot around the candle, it doesn't mean, normally in traditional candle reading, they'll say like that means that something negative is in your home or there was an evil interference. It might not be that. It might literally just be that you got a perfume candle or you got a cheaper candle. Sometimes not even a cheaper candle. Shout out to my girl Jackie Ina. I love her dearly. But baby, Jackie Ina, she not rebranded her business, but she took a pause on her business to reformulate her candles, because Jackie Ina candles before used to all leave black soot, all of them. Now she's reformulated. She switched to a different oils company. So now her fragrances no longer leave that black soot. But guess what? Now none of her jars burn all the way down. So her candles, and these are $40 candles each, expensive candles, they don't even burn that great, right? They don't burn foolproof, right? So you have to keep in mind that all of these things affect it. Sometimes I will use Yankee candles. Yankee candles burn pretty good. But what I've noticed about Yankee candles is if I use the top, because if you want to put the flame out on a candle, you could just put the top on the candle. If I use the top, that leaves a soot residue. So I would not be able to read my Yankee candle because when I put the top on it to put the flame out, that leaves a soot residue. Okay, so anything like that could affect your candle. Okay, when you are doing your candle magic, let me tell y'all this one. When you're doing your candle magic, You know how you put things under the candle. I noticed that depending on what I put under my candle, whether if I like say if I write my intentions on a bay leaf or versus me writing them on a paper towel, how high my candle is sitting up, it burns differently. Sometimes there is a lot of wax left at the bottom if my candle is sitting on paper towel versus sitting flat on one bay leaf. But I also notice if I do the paper towel and I do the coins on top of the paper towel, my candle burns down all the way. It's about the leveling of my candle. Another thing, sometimes I'll put one of my locks in like wrap it up in the paper towel or the cloth or whatever that my intention is on. When I do that, my candle sits at a slope. What does that mean? If my candle is sloped even in the slightest, my wax will not burn evenly. There will be residue left. So when people ask me to read candles, I cannot read your candle because I cannot trust that your house for that entire time that that candle has been burning, I cannot trust that the temperature has remained the same. I cannot trust that you don't have that candle by any windows. I cannot trust that you have never turned a fan on since that candle has been lit. I cannot trust that you have never, not once, ever blown that candle out. I cannot trust that that candle has been leveled the entire time. There's so many different factors that affect how your candle burns. Okay. So I don't want y'all to wreck y'all brain trying to read a candle to determine the energy in your space. Set your intentions, burn your candle, and it will be well. It will be well. I'm going to tell y'all, I've had great burns from cheap dollar store candles, cheap bodegas, you know, the plain spiritual pillar candles. I've had great burns from those. I've had great burns from Yankee candles. I've had great burns from Target. Y'all know I love me a good Target candle. I've had great burns from Target candle, but I've also had burns that have been affected again by the location, by the window, by me putting them out, by me how I blow them out versus me smudging them out. It's all different kind of factors. So again, don't obsess over reading the candle and how it's received. Now, some things you do want to be aware of that may be like red flags, okay, with candle work. Family, if you have a candle that explodes, okay, I've seen people bring that up. I've never personally experienced that, but I've seen people have candles that have exploded. Now, that's something that would be alarming. Also, though, there's multiple things that could cause a candle to explode. Candles are hot. Most candles, yes, they should be in heat resistant glass if it's a high quality candle. Cheap dollar store candles, those glasses are usually not of high quality. Okay. Most candles, high quality or not, if they are super hot and you touch them with something cold or you open a window or turn a fan on, it's going to explode. Think about it like a Pyrex dish. You ever see those videos where people will have a glass baking dish in the oven and then they go put it on a cold counter and it just explodes? Study heat, y'all. That's just how heat works. Okay, so if the candle is hot and you touch it, you move it, you do something to it while it's hot, it's a chance that it will explode. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Another thing that could cause a candle to explode is exposure to water. So, is your house humid? Okay, is it humid? I'm going to tell you, if you are a plant keeper, shout out to you. People who have an abundance of plants in their homes, I love y'all dearly. Y'all houses usually be humid as fuck. Okay? It usually be humid in there, and it has to be in order to keep the plants growing and lively and well. So I understand it. You may be so accustomed to it, you don't realize it. But if your house is humid and you have that hot candle burning, that heat That water that's in the air could cause a candle, cause the glass to explode. Okay. So things like that may happen to you. Now, if you know for sure that you have not touched the candle, you know for sure that your house is not humid, you know for sure that you did not open no window or turn on no fan and any cool air may have struck that cold glass, that hot glass. If you know that no cold has touched that heat that could have caused that glass to explode, then that may be something you want to pay attention to. It could be a spiritual thing. If I were you, I would immediately disregard, what is it, not disregard, discard. I would immediately discard all of those workings, everything that's involved in it. I would release it, probably go leave it at a cemetery or something. I would release it and I would start again. Okay, I wouldn't try to revive it, I wouldn't try to salvage anything. I would literally release it and start again, or smudge it down, throw it out and start again. But I wouldn't try to reuse anything that's involved in that working. Now keep in mind, if something like that happens, it's not always that it was an evil interference either. Sometimes what you are asking for is just not aligned with you. Okay. So you may also want to consider that. What you may be asking for may not be aligned with you. You may be asking for something that spirit is trying to tell you is not for your wellness. So it keeps putting a stop to the workings you are doing to try to attract that. Okay. So consider that. Before you restart the working, you need to ask yourself, is this really aligned with my wellness? Is this really something that I know for sure is for me? Okay. So ask yourself that. But the exploding glass is the only one that I would be alarmed by. Everything else, as far as the soot, wax residue being left, all of that, everything else is affected by so many different environmental factors that you can't for sure get a read on it. You can't for sure get a read on it. Okay. So just be mindful of that. So that's what I wanted to say about the candles. And keep in mind, y'all, I'm gonna open the floor up for Q&A after I go through the last topic. So if you have a question, write it down so that you don't forget it, and then during the Q&A, you can ask it. And it could be the question about Ramadan, the candle workings, or the next topic I want to talk about before we go to the Q&A, which is manifestation keys. Y'all, with this new moon in Pisces, this is a good time to manifest abundance, prosperity, any type of prosperity, any type of flow. It's a good time to manifest a move, a transition, a change of environment. It's also a good time to manifest healing and emotional balance. That's that good Neptune energy. It's a good time to manifest your desires. Okay. Very good time to do so. And that's why I wanted to touch on the candle work and everything. And I wanted to do this before the peak of the new moon so that y'all could go ahead and get started in y'all things, right? Now, the key, y'all, to manifestation, a couple things that I think is important. And I want to bring this up because I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. Like sometimes um some of the language that I hear is alarming, right? Some of the language that I hear is alarming. And I hear language in wording, even sometimes when people are venting and talking about what they're going through, there's a lot of, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't want to describe it as hopelessness, but let me just say it comes across as you don't feel like you are worthy, or there is still a question about whether or not you deserve this, right? Whether or not this is already yours. When you are manifesting, you have to know for sure this is yours. That's it. This is yours. There cannot in any point be a question of worthiness. There cannot at any point be self-doubt. There cannot at any point, you can't have this feeling that it's far away or it's taken too long, it's too distant. You have to know and treat it as though it is already in your hands. Okay. And I don't know any other way to describe it, it's and I don't y'all know how I feel about the whole delusional thing, because to be delusional is to believe something that is not real. I don't like to say that because it is real. Okay? You have to already be rich. You have to already be in love. You have to already be luxurious and fancy and abundant and all of those things. You have to already be that. You have to move that way. You have to know you are that. You have to be that. You have to be it. Okay. So, and I know that it can be difficult when you are in a situation and your environment does not feel like that, but your environment is not you. You dictate the environment. The environment does not dictate you. So that's the shift in perspective that you have to have. You dictate your environment. Your environment does not dictate you. So I know life be lifing and things be happening, but you really, really have to already know that it is yours, already see yourself in that light. I don't care what you want to be. I don't care if you want to be I see stage, so I'm gonna say, I don't care if you want to be a famous actor on Broadway. You have to all when you walk down the street, you gotta feel like you are that famous actor on Broadway, and people stopping you to take your picture and calling it Sage. Oh my God, you have to walk that walk. You are that person. You're already there. You are that person, right? Like that's who you are. It's not even a question. It's not even a doubt. You walk that way. You ever see somebody, they be like, oh, who she thinks she is, or who he think he is? That's how people need to feel when you walk through the room. Like, who the fuck they think they are? I am that girl. I am that guy. I'm that bitch. I am the queen. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Like, like you really have to know that now. Now, everybody has to know that now. You want to be wealthy, you have to know you are wealthy now. You are that now. You treat yourself like a billionaire, millionaire now. You treat yourself that way. You look at yourself that way. Okay. So that's a huge key with manifestation. And again, it's not about believing something that's not real, because it is real. It's so real that nobody can't tell you you are not that, because you are. It just is. It just is. And that's the internal key. That's the mindset key. So when you're doing that candle work, when you're doing that smoke bowl, when you're doing that spiritual bath, you are bathing in that energy. And it gets to the point, y'all, where like, I'm going to be honest, it may even feel a bit like you are obsessive, right? Because, like, y'all, for me, I think I told y'all before, when I'm filling up my pot to make my tea, I'm saying mantras. I am successful. I am happy. As the water is filling up the pot, because the water I drink is peace water, success water, abundance water. The water that I brew my herbs in is that. When I'm filling up my Keurig, when I want a cup of coffee, I'm filling up my Keurig. I'm I am well, I am happy, I am whole, I am successful, I am peaceful. As that water is pouring into that little basin to make my coffee for my Keurig, everything I do, I'm thinking in I ams, right? I'm thinking in abundance. I'm thinking in prosperity. I'm thinking in wellness. When I'm praying over my food, I'm praying in prosperity, abundance, wellness, gratitude. And y'all, when I say, when you really get into the habit, and I'm telling y'all, start with that. If you're not in this mindset habit yet, start with water. Start with water. You'll realize how many times throughout the day you run water, and you have realized how often that forces you and pushes you into I am mantras. And then it just becomes a habit. Every time you turn on water, every time you brush your teeth, every time you take a shower, every time you fill up something, every time you washing dishes, you just get in the habit of I am mantras. Everything you drink, everything you eat, you're drinking success, you're drinking peace, you're drinking abundance, you're eating success, you're eating wealth, you're eating abundance. Everything you do is in alignment with that energy, and you become that. Okay? You become that. So that's the thing. Like, you have to know that you are that. You have to know that you are that. When you're taking that spiritual bath, you are bathing in those waters of success and peace and light and abundance and happiness and joy and all of that. Okay. So just really be mindful, because that internal shift, that divine knowing, has to be internal to manifest as the external. Okay. You just have to have that divine knowing that I am. I am. I am. Okay. And that's really like master manifester shit. It's just that divine knowing that I am. Okay. So just keep that in mind, family. And I really wanted to touch on that as we step, or not even step into, as we already are in that heavy manifestation season. Everybody needs to shift into the habit of knowing who you are. Y'all know my favorite quote, Black Panther Queen Mother: show them who you are. Show them who you are. Who are you? I am what? And drink that energy, eat that energy, bathe in that energy. I am what. You decide who you are, and who you decide you are is who you shall be, because it's who you are. Okay. So I'm going to open the floor for Q&A, family. If you have any questions, feel free to raise